What's up, yo? Welcome to Your One Life. I'm your host, Kim Young Kim, and I'm super glad to have you as a listener today. If you're new here, I want you to know what this podcast is all about. This podcast is about teaching you from the greatest minds in the world, helping you in all aspects of your life, and showing you how to get out of jury duty by faking your own death on your jury selection day. Now, will you have to hire actors to pretend to be paramedics? Yes. Will this be incredibly expensive? Yes. Is this in the gray area of being legal? No, this is highly illegal, and you could end up on the other side of jury selection. But if you're a smooth operator, you may be able to pull it off. Now, today's interview is with my man, Wally Green. And before we get into the interview, there's a few things I want to share for context. The first thing is, during the interview, I mentioned that Wally experienced domestic violence. And the domestic violence that I didn't really get into too much because I was just trying to save time is the fact that his stepdad used to beat up his mom all the time. And he said this in a lot of interviews. And I probably should have went a little deeper into that just to give it context. But I'm giving you the context now so that when it comes up, you don't get confused. The second thing is the way he found ping pong was he was a teenager. He had just lost a game of pool, I believe. And he got mad and he threw a stick and then it broke. And he was trying to take out his anger on some kids. So he tried to smash the ping pong ball at them. And instead he nailed it right on the table. And they were like, wow, you're really good. And that's how he discovered ping pong. And the rest is history. The third thing I want to mention is I do say that I was watching viral fight videos, which is true. But I want to give context of the viral fight videos that I was watching. The viral fight video that I was mentioning was actually the same video, but I watched multiple versions of it, was the fight between the folks on the boat dock in Montgomery, Alabama. And I just discovered it the day before I interviewed Wally, and I could not get enough of it because if you want to watch a video where people get their just desserts, that is a video to watch. And here I am, recommending fight videos on my podcast. What does my life come to? But in all seriousness, great video. And if you're into watching people get justice, that is a great video to watch. All right. Without further ado, here is my interview with Wally Green. All right, Wally, what's going on, my man? How you doing today?
I'm good, bro. Good.
Fantastic. Well, I'm super happy to have you on the show. I gotta give you your proper introduction, and then we're gonna roll in. So here it goes. It was all a dream. He used to load up 9mm magazines. In his book bag, the future looked bad for that ragged teen. With a gang he was rolling, foolish bros and bullet holes, 'cause the thug life chose him. But then a path opened, a new way he was showing. He found what would take him from the projects to the pros, and he rocked it with his soul, got his life in his control, then went around the globe competing with the best. The coolest from the West, you could see him in the flesh. Rip it raw with a pickleball or iPhone in hand. A cyclone, and man, that goes King Kong smashing as they put it in service. Took his ping pong passion to Pyongyang with a purpose. To build bridges between nations, 'cause we're one human race. On a mission to make a difference with no time to waste. From stages he amazes with a message of hope. Or catch him up on TV just blessing us, folks. He's fly to the sky, this guy's got his wings. The man, myth, and legend, Mr. Wally Green.
Let's go.
Yes, sir.
Let's get it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. Yo, hey, here's a wild thing, man. Wild thing, speaking of which, in your life, right? Let me just get all this right. You were in the inner city housing projects, joined a gang, got shot twice, got sent to Africa to avoid a 10-year jail sentence, tried to bully some kids and found the game of ping pong, met a man who sent you to Germany to a ping pong academy, right?
Yeah.
Went pro for what, 15, 16 years?
Yeah,
How many was it?
Yeah, about.
Okay. Ended up playing in North Korea, did a TED Talk, played ping pong with Mike Myers using your cell phone, Did you win that, by the
Yeah,
way? Did you
yeah,
win
yeah.
that? Yes,
Even
sir.
with all his cheerleaders that he brought to.
Yeah, I imagine. And started a ping pong club franchise. Did I miss anything? I felt like I got most of
Yeah, he
it.
got most of it. Definitely.
Oh my gosh, man. Wild, wild. Do you have any other like played with celebrity stories? I feel like you got at least one more.
I mean, always have some, you know. I used to teach Susan Sarandon how to play.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, we're gonna get to that later on in the interview, by the way. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Wild, man. Wild. Well, I mean, I literally, as I was going through all my research, I felt like I was reading a movie script. Yeah. So here we are, man. Here we are. Very cool, man. Well, I felt like I covered all the things that were in the Wikipedia page, left out a number of things in the Wikipedia page. But the way I wanted to start this interview, man, was I wanted to just go back to your roots, go back to your life on the streets, right? Getting shot twice, by the way. uh, Oof. All right. We're not talking about that, but I do want to talk about some important things that you learned when you were on the streets that just feel like most people haven't learned in life.
Yeah, I mean, being being on the streets is pretty tough in its own because you kind of don't know who you should trust. And that's pretty much why people are drawn to gangs a lot because you can 99.9% trust the people that you're in the gang with. It's like a bond. It's a family bond. So in a weird way, you know, being in a gang teaches you loyalty. I mean, in
Hmm.
its weird, in this weird kind of way, right? It kind of teaches you to be loyal to the people who always have your back no matter what, right? So you know, you learn loyalty from that. Being in the streets, it gives you a different kind of smart, like knowing when a bad situation is about to happen. A lot of people don't understand when a bad situation is about to happen, so they get caught up in a bad situation. So you always hear the term called being at the wrong time at the wrong place, right? Yeah, that's because a lot of people they are not able to read signs that something is about to go down. You know, being in the streets, this is something that you learn, and you have to learn it fast, right? Because you never know when someone from another gang is around or when something's about to go down, you know, you don't want to be in the middle of it. So you're able to, you know, see that situation happening before it happens and then just be out. So there's a lot of things that you can learn that I've learned anyway from being in the streets that actually transfer over to life now, even though I'm not in the streets anymore.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And when you're talking about situational awareness and just kind of seeing, taking a temperature of your environment, like what do you spend a lot of time kind of like looking around and just kind of like trying to feel people's energy? What does that defense look
Yes,
like?
yes. So I always know who's around me. Like
Mhm.
sometimes I would be with a friend and I would say a conversation that was going on, maybe like, you know, two tables down if we're at a restaurant. And they're like, how the hell do you even know what they're saying? I'm like, because I'm paying attention to everyone around me. So I'm just so used to paying attention to everyone around me because you know when I was in a gang, you know, we're always constantly watching your back. You're always constantly, you never want to get caught slipping. You never want to get caught in the wrong place, wrong time, because that could be your life. So I'm so used to it now that I'm always paying attention to who's around me. I know who's in front of me and back of me. I know who's inside of me. Know who's 100 feet from me. You know, and it's just something that's natural now because that's what I had to live when I was younger.
Yeah, absolutely. That's wild. Yeah, and when that happens, you just try to play it cool and get the people around you to be like, "All right, we got to move, but we got to, be discreet, not cause a scene, don't panic." Let's just kind of
Nah, I've never been in that situation post being in a gang where I would have had to done that. Maybe if I'm with some friends and I see something's about to go down, I might just say, "Yo, come on, let's walk down a block or something." But I won't make it obvious. It'll just be like, but then you know what? You always get that one friend though who's like, "But why? But why?" bro, just trust me, let's
Sure.
go. Let's just walk. And then maybe I
Right, right,
explain it
right.
later if it was something real serious that was about to go down.
Yeah, it makes sense. Um, cool, man. So, has that ever helped you while you were out in other countries? Because 'Cause you've been all over
Yeah.
the world, right?
Yeah.
And I imagine that your spider sense tingles or whatever it is, and
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely. Because when you're in another country, you don't know what to expect sometimes, right?
mhm,
You really don't know because that's not your country. No one is there. No one there is having your back, right? So I think it actually comes out more when I'm in different countries. I'm just kind of like not really judging people, but kind of judging in the terms of like what this person's about. Is this person nice? Is this person trying to do something? Or is this person chill? And sometimes you might overdo it, right? But I think it's better to overdo it than not do it at all and then find yourself in some crazy situation.
yeah, most definitely. That's crazy. By the way, how many countries have you been to?
Um, I think I've been to pretty much every major country in the world, um, playing, and more than
Mhm.
once. Like every,
Oh, wow.
like if you name it, I've probably been there. Like,
So you just lost count at this
yeah,
point.
like all the major countries, like the big ones, Germany,
Mhm.
Korea, China, Brazil. I mean, you keep going, North Korea. You just keep I mean, you can keep
Yeah.
pretty much all of Asia, all of Europe. Um,
Uh,
Been to Africa, been to Alaska, like, yeah.
yeah.
So it was pretty
Yeah.
much everywhere.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. And so as you were traveling around, I imagine you have some favorite countries. What do you wanna tell me a couple of your
Yeah,
tops?
yeah. So I think my favorite of all countries is probably Japan,
Mm,
is my favorite country. And the reason why that's my favorite country is because this is just perfect.
mm,
Like it's wild. Like everything works the way it's supposed to work. If a train says it's pulling in at 2:02, it's pulling in exactly 2:02 and it's leaving exactly the time it said. Everything is pretty much exact and things work. Like things just work properly. The customer service is probably one of the best in the entire world. Like when you're in there, they make you feel like you want to spend money. As soon as you walk in,
not
like they greet you really loudly. And it's a really good place. And the culture, also Japanese culture, the people they try to avoid confrontation at all times, which is good because that means that I don't have to punch no one in the face,
yeah,
right? No one's gonna come out stupid to me or something like that. If they want to come out stupid to you, they won't do it in your face, right?
right.
They'll actually smile in your face and tell you how cool you are, but then behind your back say this guy's an ass. So I
Right,
like
right,
that. I
right.
like that.
No, that's cool, that's cool. Yeah, and I mean, it's I was watching some, unfortunately, some viral fight videos yesterday, and I was like, I mean, as entertaining as this is really unnecessary. I shouldn't admit that, but here we are. Anyways, so Japan is your favorite. I gotta ask about North Korea. I'm sure you've talked about it on many a podcast, but what surprised you most about North Korea?
um, so I did a lot of research before I went there. I did a lot, so I kind of expected everything to happen. But the biggest
Mhm.
surprise I got was when they took my passport.
Ooh,
That just put a whole different level of what I was about to experience because in none of the documentaries or things that I saw, someone said they take your passport. So I didn't realize that they were going to take the passport. I knew there was no internet. I knew there was no cell phone service. I knew you'd be cut off, but I didn't know about taking your passport. So that was like the number one really surprise thing that made me feel like, oh, all right, yeah, this is about to get real.
yeah, no, for real. And then you're like, but I'm getting it back, right? Like
they
I'm not one of y'all now, right? Is it? That's not how it's
listen. They
going down.
actually forgot to bring my passport when we were going to the airport. Yeah, I was in the car and we're going to the airport. And as we're going to the airport, I said, "Do you have my passport?" And they were like, "Oh." Then we had to turn around and had to go get my passport. Yeah, so it would have been wild. We would have went to the airport. We had, yeah.
That's
Not
wild, that's
cool.
wild.
And
Not
I'm sure
not
they
not
did it on purpose too.
well, yeah. They're just like, "Yeah,
Mm,
this is
we-
no special treatment. You're a professional, but
Yeah,
now,
we're gonna
no,
mess with
no."
this one.
Alright, well, what's your favorite memory of North Korea? You could share more than one if you want, but, I wanna know what your favorite memory of North Korea was, as you were
I
there.
think the best memory, my favorite one, was hugging the North Korean guy that kind of didn't really want to shake my hand. You know, in
Mhm,
sports, like you have to shake hands after the match. And all his life he was taught that Americans are evil, we're the devil, and we should be killed, et cetera, et cetera. And when he came to shake my hand, he kind of like his hand went in for the shake, but his body stood back. So his body wasn't taking part of this. And when people do that, they're not really invested in this handshake, right? They're just doing it
mm,
because it's an etiquette and you have to do it. And so when he did that, I grabbed him by the arm and I pulled him in and gave him a big hug. Like I hugged him.
mhm,
And the funny thing about it is my camera, I have my phone on a tripod in my corner. So it's facing my back, which is his face. And in the beginning, you could see he was like, like, whoa, what's going on? But then he smiled, right? He smiled. And that for me was like the best. It was the purpose. It was the reason I went there, right? It was the whole purpose. The guy smiled like you can't fake that. Like that's a real human emotion. So that was definitely the best thing for me there.
yeah, and, I watched the video. I feel like you should get that smiling face and put it on some socks and wear them around.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, but just be like, "Yo," and then, like, have the North Korean flag and the American
Oh my
flag next
God,
to
that
it.
is hilarious.
Why not, man? Why not? That's
T-shirt with his
amazing.
face on it.
Yeah, I'm saying,
Oh,
dude.
that is
Like,
funny. That is
that is,
funny. That is funny.
unity or something.
Yeah, yeah.
We're the brotherhood of humans, something like I don't know.
That's funny.
But, yeah, it's wild. Yeah, actually, my family's actually from North Korea,
Really?
before the war. Yeah. My dad's side of the family had to escape the communist regime, and, yeah, so they lived above the DMZ before all the craziness went
Oh
down, and
wow.
they saw the writing on the wall, and they're like, "We gotta get out of here. This is not gonna end well for us if we stick around."
Oh wow,
So,
that's
yeah.
crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's wild, man. It's wild. So, I imagine when you were in North Korea and other places, you get looks everywhere you go, I imagine, 'cause you're this black guy playing ping pong, you also got, like, swaggy hair, you dress with a lot of flair, there's just a lot happening there, um, and, it's all eyes on Wally. Does that sound about right, or
Yeah, that's exactly right. That is
that's
exactly
wild.
right.
Yeah, and, that's really cool, but I know that you had said in somewhere that you've dealt with, real discrimination,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Being a, professional ping pong player, usually probably the only black guy on the circuit, or
Yeah, a lot of the times when I was playing, there was
Mm,
I was usually the only black guy playing. So there could be like, maybe 233 entrants for the tournament. And I could be the only black guy. Right. A lot of times it was like that. But I tell you a funny thing. I started to like it. And
mhm,
then when another black guy would show up, I'd be tight. I'd be like, yo,
right.
what the hell this guy's doing here, bro? Come on, man. There's only room for one of us. Come on, man.
Ah, that's
Yeah,
funny,
yeah.
that's
Because
funny.
it like once in a while, you might get maybe somebody from Africa, right,
Okay.
would come and play. And then I'd be tight, man,
Mhm.
because that's my shine. Or my friend from
That's
France.
wild.
I had a friend from France who played, and
Okay.
he's also black, but he was
Mhm.
cool. So like when he was around, it was all good.
It's all yeah, that's great, man. So, like, as you were going around, you got all eyes on you, but you also have dealt with some discrimination, whether as a player or as a person just being in a country. It's everywhere, no matter where you
Yeah,
go, unfortunately. So, like, how did you deal with it? I guess maybe early on in your career, and also later on in your career. Did you change some? What was your response?
I think. if we start with the player part, as a player, I didn't fit the mold of what a ping pong pro or table tennis player should be. Right. I looked very different. I had the crazy hair. I was really loud and very like, in people's face. And the way I dressed also was very, very different. I definitely didn't fit the mold at all. And I also, in the beginning, I wasn't winning. So people were like, oh, why are you even playing this? Like you should be rapping or playing basketball, right? People would say, oh, why you don't play basketball, right? But the same people who were telling me this, it wasn't like the top 20 in the world. Like these dudes weren't even winning tournaments themselves. They were better than me, but they weren't winning. So to me, like we're all in the same boat. I'm not winning, but you ain't winning either. Right. And
Mhm.
so I had to deal with that for a little while. And I went through, the whole phase of like, do I really want to do this? But then I realized that there was no one else like me in the world that was playing. There was no one like me. There was no one with my background, no one with my style and flair. So what? I wasn't as good as everyone else, but I was cooler than everyone else. Right? I was the cool dude on the court. And once I figured that out, then I stopped caring like what people thought because the media wanted to interview me. I would just get
Right.
killed and destroyed in a match. And normally the winner gets the interview. But the media will come to interview me and not the winner.
Mm.
So I was like, you know
Right.
what? I got something different. I'm going to use this to my advantage.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. When the guy who gets first place doesn't get the first interview, then that's a
Yeah, right.
that's a telltale sign. That's great. So as a player, obviously people have to conduct themselves properly.
Yeah.
When you were out in the streets, how did you deal with, just being someone who's different in this country or whatever it is?
When I was in the streets.
Yeah, I mean, just when I say streets, I'm like the streets of these countries, you know,
Oh. You mean over there? Well,
overseas. Yeah.
well, it depends. It always depend on what the situation was. But like I said, I'm not in that gang life anymore. So I'm really smart about the way that I react to certain things. Like I'll give you a perfect example. A perfect example. In some countries, people will test you on the basis that you're black and that you're from America. This is like in China. In China, this happens a lot, and you have to be smart about it. Like you know, and this is I'm telling you, this is what happened. I'll go to a club, and I like to go out by myself. I love going out by myself because I know I can deal with ish. If it's just me, it's easy. Right? I don't gotta worry about other people. So I would go out to a club, right, and I'll be just partying by myself, chilling, have a drink. And then some guy will just come and just like, boom, shoulder check me, right? Now, there's a couple of ways you could react to that. You can go crazy and be like, F you, I'm the big, ah. And what'll happen is, you'll get beat up really badly because 10 people will come, they'll beat you up, and then you'll get arrested behind getting beat up because I've seen it happen. So there was a situation where this happened in a club. A guy bigger than me comes and checks me for no reason. Bah! Right? And I knew where this was going. I'm not stupid. And these are the kind of things that you learn when, like you mentioned before, from being in a gang. Like I understand this situation. I understand this scenario of what's trying to happen. Right? If I didn't grow up in that life, I probably would have just been like, what, blah, blah, right? But I understand where this was going. So what I did is I let it go. I went to the bar. I bought a bottle, right? I bought a bottle, came back,
Mhm.
went to the same guy that bumped me, and I did some really kind of like it's a way to show that I respect you, but I ain't soft. So what I did is I had the bottle and I said, "Hey, come, my friend, come." But when I grabbed the guy, I had my hand in the back of his neck,
Ooh.
like tight, but at the same time showing a bottle, right?
Mm.
So his brain is wondering what the hell's going on, right? He doesn't even understand what's happening here because he's looking at the bottle. And I told the guy, I said, hey, let's have a drink together. And the guy was so happy. It was crazy. We had a drink together. Then we became cool. And then I find out this guy is like mafia, bro.
Oh, wow.
So if I would have did some dumb ish, I would have wound up in the hospital, been arrested, and yeah, and so now when especially when I'm in other countries, I'm more tolerant. Like people will want to come touch your hair, right? And
Yeah.
and and I'll see other people there, and they'll flip out. Me, I'm like, hey,
Mm.
touch. You want to touch? Go, enjoy, enjoy, right? I just think that when you're in other people's countries, that you have to respect those people, even though something might rub you the wrong way, but there's a reason for it, right? There's always a reason behind what people are trying to do. And if you can figure it out, then you can react in a way where it doesn't necessarily make you look soft, but it just shows them that, oh, I respect you. I respect your culture.
Yeah, and the thing about it is when people do stuff like that, they don't realize what they're like. In America, you don't go and do that. So oftentimes it's coming from a place of, curiosity and not
Right.
not just full on disrespect like, "Oh, I know that this is gonna make you mad, so I'm gonna do it."
Right.
More like, "Oh, you know, we're just curious,
Yeah, right,
we
right,
don't
right,
we don't know any better, quote unquote,
right.
because it's our country, not
No,
yours,
no,
right?"
exactly. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. That's wild, that's wild. That's cool, man. I like that story about the mafia. I like how that ended too.
Yeah, listen,
Yeah.
bro, I've been in a couple of mafia stories, bro. A couple, like especially in China. China's a crazy place, man. Like you got to be real careful, bro. You got to be
Mm,
real careful. Yeah, yeah,
mm.
yeah.
Indeed. No, I hear that, I hear that. So, yeah, that I am really just inspired by the fact that you've done all this positive, you took, as I'm quoting Biggie, took a negative, turned it to a positive, that sort of thing. And just to kind of switch directions a little bit, have you gone through any therapy at all? Because I know you've gone through a lot of trauma with, the abuse, domestic violence, and whatnot. What have I guess you've done in order to deal with that? Yeah, I'm just curious.
Um, I never actually. It's crazy. Like I've never been to any kind of therapy at all. The only kind of therapy that I've ever been to in my life is when I was a kid, and my mom sent me to a psychologist, a behavioral therapist. And the first thing I told the therapist was like, have you ever had a gun put to your head? And he said, no. I said, have you ever even touched a gun? He said, no. I said, I don't need to talk to you. And
Oh wow.
ever since then, like I never respect therapists actually.
Mm,
um like for me, they're just people that read some stupid book, and they base everything that they tell you is based off a book. Like if you didn't
mm,
experience it and you don't go through it, then you can't tell me. You can't begin to even give me any advice or tell me anything that I want to listen to. Unless you've been
right.
through it yourself and you went through it, then you can talk. So then, yeah. So I never did the therapy thing.
Mm,
I just kind of was able to take the trauma and then use it as like fuel. So that's what I've been doing. Telling my story helps a lot. Being able to tell the story. I mean, like it helps a lot of people, right? It inspires people, and at the same time, it also helps me. It's like therapeutic. That's my therapy. Like every time I tell my story, it's I feel like pressure, like some pressure is released. So I love to
right.
tell my story now. Like I love it
Mm,
because it also does wonders for myself, and that's my therapy, like pretty much.
right. And it sounds like you're just helping other people helps you,
Yeah,
and it just, yeah. No, I'm the same way. I feel like anytime I can just use my life to better somebody
yeah,
else's and uh, make them not feel alone, but also just help them along their journey to miss all the heartache that I had to go
right,
through,
right.
whatever it is. So yeah, that's great, man. That's really positive. And yeah, I mean that's what you did in your TED talk, and I feel like every time I see you in the TV clips, I'm like, oh man, it's just positivity and goodness. So that's great, man.
Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of positivity and goodness, one of the things that you said was you were doing like mini celebrations during ping pong games just to be like, yeah, like I scored some points this game or something like that, right? Was that a thing that you did? It was like you hit 4 or 5 and then you're like, all right, celebration time. Um, uh, am I getting that right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that was a transition I was going through when I first started playing. I was probably the worst pro in the entire world. And I was getting beat so badly, and not because I was bad, it's because my mindset was wrong. I was thinking that I would just come in on the scene and I could beat everyone. I can destroy everyone. And that was actually stopping me from learning and understanding why I was losing. Right. And so I would get probably 2 to 3 points per game. Right. The games go to 11. And then I was like, how can I fix this? So I started to do, let me just get 5 points. If I can get 5 points every game, then I'm the champion of the world. Right. So I would
Mm,
just focus on 5 points. And not even every game. It started at five. It says, let me just get 5 points one game. And when I did, I would get all pumped up and go, yeah, and just jump up and down. And people would think I was crazy because I just lost. Like I got killed, I lost. But what I was doing was I was celebrating the smaller wins, right? So that 5 points, it didn't win me the match. But I was able to make my goal. And you have to celebrate those smaller goals, right? So it's called how do we lose but win anyway, right? So I lost the match, but I still won because I was able to make that goal of just 5 points. So I went from 5 points to 5 points every game to one game, all right? And then let's get 2 games. Let's get 3. Let's try to win a match. And then that's how I got better.
that's awesome. And now that you're not a professional ping pong player anymore, how do you incorporate that celebration in your daily life?
Oh man, with everything. Like right now, I'm writing a book, right? And I said all of last year I was gonna write this book, and I didn't write anything. I think I wrote like 2 lines. And then this year I went to Podfest, of course, and I got some really good information on books in general and just the whole world of books. And it kind of inspired me and ignited. And I said, okay, you know what? How can I do this? And so one of the people said, hey, maybe try to write one story a week. And I was like, I can do that. One story a week. I can do that. And so I started to do that. I write one story a week. But then I got so excited, I was writing something every day. And after doing whatever I did, even if it's just 5 lines, right? I give myself a pat on the back, like good job, right? I really celebrate it to myself, right? And that makes me more excited to keep writing. And so now I've made a routine where every morning I get up, first thing I'm doing is some writing. And even if it's just a little, I have to write something. Something has to get written. So I went from that once a week to every day now.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So that celebration helped you to become like super consistent.
Yes, 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 yes.
That's awesome. All right, let me do something with that real quick. You got to come through and celebrate the wins, and you could do it every day. You could come and just pat yourself right on the back, and then you will just feel so good. You'll just motivate yourself to do it now. So you should do it now, and you could start and win. All right. All right. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Speaking of winning and being consistent, how many hours a day were you practicing when you were a pro player?
It depends on where I was in the world. So
Mhm,
I practiced all over the world in different countries. So
sure.
if I was in China, then I practice almost 9 hours a day.
Mm,
3 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon, three in the evening. If I was in Europe, I practice probably 6 hours a day,
mm.
right? If I was in
Why,
America,
why,
probably less.
why more in China versus
Because
versus
in in
America?
in in in, in Europe, they practice less
Hmm.
less than in China. In China is always 9 hours. Like everyone,
Yeah.
kids are doing 3 hours in the morning, maybe 2.5 hours, or two in the afternoon, or three, and then another three at night, or three in the afternoon and then 2.5 at night. Right. So it's like in Korea, Korea also is also very difficult practice as well. Europe is
Mm.
not as crazy as the Asian countries, right? And in America, it's less.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, no worries. And do you ever do you ever like show up to a random place and hopefully like they don't recognize you and you just kinda you just act like you're a normal person and you just throw down or
Yes, yes. In China, so in China, I have a little hustle that I do, and it's super fun. I'll go to a random ping pong hall, right?
Mm,
Which and they're hard to find if you don't speak the language. So I need people to help me, or sometimes I can just try to find it. But I'll go find this local ping pong place, and the people that play there are usually, you know, there's no pros there, right? There are people who work every day, and I'll go there and I'll dress with maybe a hoodie, or maybe if it's summer, a t-shirt, and I have my chain on, right? I have my
mm.
bling bling on. And then I always wear a hat because people can
Mm,
recognize by the hair. So even though
right.
they don't know my name, they can know, oh, this guy plays. So I wear a hat and I'll have some glasses on, walk in, and say, hey, I want to play. And then they'll look at me like I'm crazy. Like they'll just
Uh,
start laughing immediately. And then they'll give me the worst guy. They always give me the worst guy in the club. So while I'm playing the worst guy, right, I'm looking to see who's the best guy in the club. So I'll look around to find, okay, that guy looks really good, looks like he's the best. And then I'll say, hey, I want to play that guy, right? And they always say no. No one has ever said, isn't that wild? I've done this thing like more than 50 times. No one has ever said yes. They always say, oh, no, 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 he's the coach, or he's
mm.
this or that. And so they would never let me play the guy. So I would take out like 400 or 200 RMB, the Chinese money, and I would say, I want to play and bet. And then all of a sudden now everyone's eyes get big. Oh, everybody starts laughing. And then I play the guy and wind up beating the guy. And it's always again double or nothing because
Oh, wow, yeah, yeah.
they can't believe that this happened. Like
Right.
like it's a fluke.
Yeah. That's wild. You're just Uncle Drewing it up out there. Do you know who that is? Kyrie Irving when he
Yep,
stuff like
yep.
Uncle Drew. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's wild, man. That's good times. Very cool. Yeah, man. What is it? So let's talk about spin real quick. When are y'all bringing spin to Atlanta?
I know, right? I know. I keep hearing A- about Atlanta. It's Atlanta's a great city. Like I was there a little while ago, and then my good friend James Altucher lives in
Yeah,
Atlanta. He moved.
yeah.
Yeah, he moved there, and he keeps telling me, "Oh, you gotta come to Atlanta. You gotta come to Atlanta." Yeah. I know. We should definitely start at least looking for a space
Mm.
there.
Yeah, yeah. I've rolled up. I told you the story. I rolled up to the the Philly location. This is after I met you, and I didn't realize you had been involved with it. But I was like, "This is amazing! This in Atlanta." And then I looked it up online. And I was like, "What, Wally? I know Wally.
It's funny.
He's connected to it." So, yeah. So I want to know about your connections at Spin, but also I want to reference a guy named Naval Ravikant. I don't know if you know him, but he says do long term deals and relationships with people long term, right? That's how you're going to really become wealthy. That's how you're really going to do well in life. You got to find those people that you're going to rock with and just roll with them for, for the long term
Yeah.
so that you can really make something happen. Now, I imagine that you've had a lot of people who try to come into your life who are shucksters, who kind of want to use you. I mean, we all deal with it, but I imagine at your level, it's way higher. So what are some telltale signs that you're dealing with a shuckster versus someone who's genuine, someone who wants to do right by you as they do right by themselves?
I think one sign is when they're trying too hard.
Mm,
Like when they're trying too hard and they're pushing too hard, then that's usually a red flag. That for me is always like a red flag. It's one thing to say, oh, this is time sensitive, and it's another thing to just keep like trying so hard, and you have a lot of time to do whatever it is you need to do. So I'm always cautious of when people are like that.
Okay, and so when you're saying trying too hard, you're saying they might rush you to sign something, but also is there other trying too hard things that they do as well,
Yeah,
or
I'll give you an example. When my New York Times article came out, I had a lot of film companies approach me, and they were trying to get me to one particular company was trying to get me to sign over the rights to my life story, to sell the rights to my life story. And I'm not stupid. Like I do a lot of research, like when I hear these things, and but they were just like, they flew me to LA, put me in a hotel, and it was like so much. And I'm like, come on, bro. Like, I'm not dumb. There's no way I'm gonna sell the rights to my life story. Like that's never ever gonna happen. But they just kept. And when they were doing it, they didn't tell me at first that they wanted me to sell it. They said that we're interested in making a movie out of your life story. That that was
ah,
the initial thing. And that's why I agreed to go to LA. Because that's what they said. We want to make a movie. And then they hit me with we'd like to buy the rights. And I'm like, what? Like that doesn't even make sense. And I should and I knew something too, because they were very persistent on making sure that I was gonna come to LA. Like it was like, and I was like, this is weird, but you know what? I'll go check it out anyway, and it's a free trip, so I'll go and I can play paddle tennis while I'm there anyway. So yeah,
yeah, that's wild. So as you're yeah, thankfully you didn't sell your
no,
rights.
never.
Yeah, so when you pick people to surround yourself with, right? Like you do business with people and you have people who speak on your behalf of some sorts, I imagine. How do you choose those people? Because it's tough to pick people, right? Sometimes.
Yeah, I think it's a vibe thing. It's more of like a connection, like like love at first sight, kind of a kind of thing, right? It's that instant vibe. Like for me, I know the people that I'm gonna vibe with, like immediately. Like I can tell. I have good feeling about people and their energy, right? The energy has to match. We don't have to think on the same level or think in the same way, but that energy has to match. And if it doesn't, then I won't mess with them. So I just go purely based on feeling.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
And I mean,
but from growing up in that gang life, that's what we learned to do, right? It's something that we had to do all the time. So it's in me to do this all the time.
right. And you got some muscle memory of
Yeah.
sorts of just kind of filling people out. Cool, man. So could you quickly tell the story about starting Spin? You told me at Podfest, but just give us a Cliff Notes version because it's wild.
Yeah. So there were three other guys, right? They were ping pong enthusiasts, but their profession were documentary filmmakers,
Mm.
right? And I met them at a tournament in Manhattan, ping pong tournament.
Yeah.
And as I was playing this tournament, one of the coaches of the guy who was playing was cheating.
Oh
And
wow.
I told him, if you don't shut the F up, I'm gonna punch you in the face for 10 minutes. And and the three guys heard me say this, and they were like, oh, this guy's crazy. We got to get to know him. So they came to me. It's like, hey, we have this apartment, this loft apartment, really cool loft apartment where we have a ping pong table. Yo, would you mind come to teach us and play with us? So I was like, yeah. So I would go down there and play with these guys, and then I wind up staying there. Like I was always there. It's
Right.
like my second home.
Mm.
Then we started doing these ping pong parties. So we would invite people over, bring your own beer, bring your own whatever, and we just party. The ping pong parties got bigger, so we had to come up with a name for it. So the name was called Naked Ping Pong, right? And naked was the state of mind, like living life free and enjoying life and just doing whatever. The parties start to get bigger to where sponsors started hitting us up. Like Red Bull was like, hey, we like what's going on in that apartment. We can't give you any money, but we'll give you product. Okay, so we had a
Yep.
fridge with Red Bull in it. Then vodka company, beer company was like, hey, we can't give you any money, but we'll give you products. Okay, so now we got beer, we got vodka. So we figure out, how can you make money from this, right? We got all this product, right? You can't sell alcohol in the apartment. It's illegal as hell.
Right.
So what we did was we said, you know what? Let's pick a night. Let's have a night where we'll have a tournament, right? A tournament. And
Mm.
$20 gets you the entry to the tournament.
Mm.
And it's unlimited drinks, free, unlimited drinks all night long, right? So who's not going to that? So everyone started coming. Our parties got so big to where we used to have a line around the apartment, huge line. We eventually wound up getting a bouncer, but the
Nice.
bouncer just kind of killed the vibe, right?
Oh, okay.
Because now you got this big angry dude walking around, and the
Sure. Yeah,
vibe
yeah, yeah.
wasn't that like friendly, fun atmosphere.
Right.
And during the process, we met Susan Sarandon, right?
Mm.
So her assistant is a friend of one of the partners. And so we met her. She had came to the apartment, and I remember the first time she came because I came in later and I saw her and I was like, "You look familiar," and I wasn't sure. And it was Susan Sarandon sitting
Yeah.
there. Eventually, we had to get out of the apartment because they wanted to sell the apartment, and we came up with a business plan, right? Because we wanted to take this idea to the next level. We didn't want to just finish, and that would
Right.
be it. And one of my partners was starting to date Susan,
Okay.
and
Right.
then we were like, "Hey, what's up, man? Let's make this happen." And we
Mm.
we all came up with a business plan, gave it to Susan, and then Susan helped get the first location. She found the investors, like all that good stuff, and,
Wow.
and, and that's how we
Wow.
started the first one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's that story is just oh man, it's like one of those feels like a movie itself right there. It's like, oh yeah, we just guys playing ping pong. Next thing you know, it's a whole thing. So I imagine you've sat in on some business meetings because of spin.
Uh, Very few of them. I
Okay.
actually don't like that part of it.
Oh,
So
okay. So you're
I
just like y'all.
I, I
Okay.
yeah, I like the more of the entertainment side, of the
Mhm.
entertaining side of the making customers happy side, the
Sure.
engaging side, the meeting side of it. I actually I don't like at all.
Mhm.
I don't know. It just yeah.
Nah, if it ain't for you, it ain't for you. So, with the customer service part and the, making people happy part, what have you seen at Spin and just in that world that is maybe different than you see in, like, a regular place, you know what I'm saying? Because I feel like y'all do it at a very high level, and Imma speak when I was in Philly, your boy, I think Jared, I can't remember all the guys' names, but they were real good people, and man, they made us have so much fun,
Yeah.
man. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the most important thing for us, is that
Mhm.
people are having a lot of fun. Ping pong as a sport, it's a very serious sport, and it's a very difficult sport. So we wanted to take that sport and make it fun for everyone. You throw in a bar, you throw in DJs, you throw in some fun games, and you don't make people pick up their own balls.
Mm.
That's like the biggest key of everything. Because anywhere else you'll go, you'll have to pick up your balls.
Mhm.
At our club, you don't have to pick up balls. We have people whose job is to pick up the balls for you, right? So now you don't have to worry about picking up. You can spend most of your time playing and just chatting and stuff like that. And people love it because these days people want also an activity while they party, right?
Yeah.
So we give them this activity, and ping pong it's a kind of thing that it's social, right? Because the table is pretty small, so you can play and talk. I think it's the best first date place ever. If you want to go on a
Yeah.
first date,
Right.
it's the best place because it's you'll have fun. I don't know anyone who can't hit a ping pong ball. Even if you hit it off the table, it's still fun, right?
Yeah, for sure.
If you go to a pool place on your first date, that can be a disaster because
Mhm.
that pool the first time it takes skill, right? And
Right.
and and you want your date to feel like they're equal to you, right?
Right.
So it's definitely best first date place, and people love it. Like people love to play. Girls love it. Like
Mhm.
everyone loves it.
Yeah, that's what's up. But I mean, if you take them on a pool date and then they end up breaking their pool stick
Yeah.
and then they try to smash a little kid in the face with a ping pong ball, they might find their calling. You
Yeah,
never know.
exactly, exactly, exactly.
Oh man, I love that story so much, man. Finding your way. All right, cool, man. Well, we're coming up on time as far as the podcast episode goes. It's been a blast. I do want to ask you a question though, because I feel like this is a very universal thing. Where when we were talking at Podfest and you were talking about how it was a speaking gig that they were just asking you to ask for way more money than you felt like you should get because you're a kid from the hood and like you were dealing with all this imposter syndrome. It's like I can't ask for that much money. How much was it, by the way, if you don't mind me
10K.
asking? Yeah, it was 10K. Okay, so 10K is a lot of money for one speaking gig for sure. Um, and how do you deal with that voice and that imposter syndrome? Because it's real, we all face it and it's hard, when you hear a voice telling you 10K, what you talking about 10K? You're from the Brooklyn projects.
Exactly. For real. It's I think at times you need I think at times it's hard to deal with it yourself. Like you need a reassurance from someone. I think by yourself it's very difficult because if that's what you believe, then there's no way you're gonna change your own mind. Like for me, when the lady Dory Clark told me 10K, I was like, what? I'm not gonna ask for 10K. You know how long it took me to press send on 10K on an email? Like I was standing there like scared. I was like, I'm not pushing that. Like it's crazy, right? But I didn't understand the value that I have as a speaker, right?
Mm.
And you can't understand it yourself. Someone has to tell you. Someone has to explain to you like what that value is about. And like for me, I thought that yeah, I'm just inspiring people. I mean, that can't be worth 10K. 1K maybe. But 10. Let me tell you, I would have asked them for 1K, and I would have been very happy with it. To be honest,
Sure.
right? But she taught me a very amazing lesson, and she said that if you don't ask for 10K, they'll think you're an amateur and they won't hire you anyway.
Right.
And I was like, oh, okay.
Mhm.
So yeah, it definitely takes someone to kind of reassure you and let you know, no, you are worth that. You've you've went through this. You've lived this. This is priceless. So 10K is actually a small amount to ask for to give your experience of something that you went through that no one else went through. So when they put it like that, then it kind of makes sense, right? Each person's experience is their experience, right? Your experience is not mine. Mine is not yours. We may have similarities, but we all have our own experiences, and those experiences are priceless. So when people put it like that, then it's like, yeah, I should start asking for 100K.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I like that. Very cool. Awesome, man. Well, let me do something with that real quick. You gotta find some people who believe in you and your story, and it's good. You cannot just let yourself be just bogged down with a whole bunch of doubt. You need a Dory Clark in your life so you could just stand up and feel so good. Listen to this man right now because he's lived it and now he's got the change.
Let's
Change the
go.
money, the change. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, my man. Well, that we're at the part of the podcast where I ask you Is there something that you wish I had asked you? Is there anything that you want to end on? Words for the people. You have free reign to promote anything, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, actually, I like to give just some basic life advice, which I think is really important for people to hear
Yep.
all the time. You know, if you need help, don't be afraid to ask for it. And more importantly, if people offer you help, don't be afraid to take it. I think,
Yeah.
you know, we as humans, we want to do everything ourselves and we think we're Superman and Superwoman and we don't need this. We don't need that. But every super successful person has had help in one form or another. I don't know any extremely successful person who did it all by themselves. Doesn't exist. So
Mhm.
yeah, if you need it, ask for it. And if people offer it, take it because you never know where that help is going to get you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's a good positive note to end on. And that actually, as I was doing my research and I heard you say that somewhere, I thought about someone in my life who offered me help recently. And I was like, I actually do need to reach out to that person and take one of their kidneys because they were like, it's yours if you want. I'm just kidding.
I was like, what? That's funny.
I was like, dang, ooh, all right. A
Oh,
whole kidney? That's a lot. But no, I've someone I seriously do need to reach out to and take their help because they offered it. And you know,
yeah, yeah.
it doesn't happen super often, but when it does, you should take it,
Yep,
right?
yep.
Indeed. All right, cool, man. All right, Wally. Well, here's what I like to do at the end of my podcast, which you already know a little bit. Do a little bit of this freestyle rapping stuff. So I'm just gonna go ahead and wrap up this interview. All right, here we go. Yo. Yo, I'm doing my thing here with Wally Green. The dude just went to many freaking countries. Love in Japan, that is that man. Hustling a bunch of people for their money. Up in China, that's what he do. Didn't roll with a crew, rolled by himself. Grabbed a dude straight from the neck and got him in check. Dropped a bunch of drinks, that's what I think when I'm bringing all the time. That's what I'm saying. It's kind of like wine and dine. I come through and rhyme and take some help. A whole bunch of people help me believe in myself. That's what I'm saying. You gotta keep going. Expand your mind. Something that you find. A whole bunch of good things you gotta just spread. Like this dude with the positivity, with the inspiration. Heard what I'm saying? You're flipping facts about a diplomat. Went to North Korea, did a bunch of things, lost the game, but won in his heart, and that's what I'm saying. I run in a spark, like my dude right there with the pickleball. Come through, he's a 4, he's a 5, he's way beyond that when he's coming alive. Come through and arrive with my guy, and that's how I say, when we fly, I spit off the top, and that's how I go, and that's what I said with a Wally flow.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's get it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Wally, my man, thank you so much for being a good, positive light out there in the world. I still haven't taken you up on the ping pong game because I know you're going to destroy me with your iPhone.
We got to play. We got to play.
We got to, man. So tell the people how they can connect with you online.
You can find me on Instagram, Wally Green NYC.
Wally Green NYC. Any other? Is that pretty much where you hang out?
Yeah, that's where I hang out. I might be back on TikTok soon, but it's Wally Green NYC official on TikTok.
I got it. Wally Green NYC official on TikTok and Wally Green NYC on Instagram. I will tag that in the show notes. Wally, it's been a pleasure. It's always good to see you, my man.
Appreciate you.
And yeah, we'll have to do this again.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
All right, so that's the interview. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got a lot out of it. And I hope that you take some nuggets of wisdom from his life and apply it to your own. Now, if you're new here, don't forget to hit the follow button so that you don't miss future episodes. And if you've been listening, please rate and review the podcast in Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, leave a comment on Spotify. All of that helps significantly in getting the word out on this podcast. Now, I'm going back to reading reviews on the podcast. Here's one by Missing the Comments. Half an hour of humor and help. Great podcast. Kim Young brings you the ideas of personal development gurus interspersed with his sharp sense of humor. Every episode will give you something new to think about, and the medicine goes down much easier with lots of jokes along the way. Kim Young doesn't take himself too seriously on the podcast, but you can tell that he is serious about helping listeners reach their full potential. Thanks so much, Missing the Comments. I appreciate you. And if you leave a review on Apple Podcasts, your review might be read on the next episode. All right, so that's all I got for now. This is Your One Life. I'm Kim Young Kim. I hope you have a great day, a great week, and until next time, peace!